From the spacious interior of W.C. Field's left nostril, it's the IGN Digigods. Please welcome two of Edgar Bergen's lesser-known dummies, Wade Major and Mark Kaiser.
I love Edgar Bergen, and I will be one of his dummies anytime. Corey, who was so insightful to send us that.
That was written by William T. Garver III Esquire DDS of boozemovies.com. Boov? Booze? I could use some booze, Garv.
What just happened?
Oh, Corey's funny. Corey making me laugh.
Is Corey going to read our new intros when we finally run out of intros and have enough from our listeners that we can record even more?
Yes, and I'm finishing your cookies from last week.
You're finishing last week's cookies?
Mm-hmm.
Well, are they stale? Are they still fresh?
They're still fresh.
Actually, here's why they're fresh. You want to know why they're fresh?
Why?
Because as part of the dough, you use 8 ounces of cream cheese.
Ooh, nice.
So it makes it a little softer. And by the way, I think I might have finally, although I shouldn't speak too soon, I might have cracked the whole pie dough thing. Alton Brown has a good pie dough philosophy, pie dough procedure. Mm-hmm. I think I like it.
You know, I got to drink some water. Vamp while I'm drinking.
What am I supposed to talk about?
I don't know. Anything. Pie dough. Pie dough.
Well, here's the thing. Now next week we'll have Eric Altieri's cheesecake recipe made and presented to Wade in all of its presumed deliciousness. This week, Wade is still eating the dregs of what I made last week.
My gosh, it's really good. I'm totally sold. I'm gonna hire you. You're gonna be my private baker. Oh,
I'm your private baker.
Oh yeah,
baking for money.
So Mark, is there any honestly all the tent poles coming up this year, summertime? There are even if starting in April, like that new Tom Cruise damn thing.
Oblivion.
Whatever. You know all this stuff. It's like March and April now. Summer season is beginning in the spring. Seriously, is there anything that you're really looking forward to? Where you look at that and you go, you know what? I'm really compelled by that.
I am looking forward to Star Trek only because we have a history with Star Trek, and we know the director of Star Trek, and I went to junior high school with the director of Star Trek, and you know the director of Star Trek, so I'm kind of looking forward to that. I am looking forward to Elysium.
As I am, I agree. That one I'm looking forward to
Because of Neil Blomkamp?
Yeah, that's it. That's the only one.
What else are we looking forward to? I don't know. That might be it.
Because Joseph Kosinski, who did Oblivion, by the way, he's the Tron guy.
Right.
Tron Legacy. That doesn't do anything for me.
No. I mean, here's the thing, though. That this is going to be his... Here's the thing. If he hits Oblivion out of the park, people will forget about Tron. If this one also sucks, then they've handed him 2 huge budgeted films, and he shanked them both, and that's going to be it for him.
Yeah.
No one's going to give him, Avengers 3. You know.
The only one of those kind of tent-pole movies that I'm sort of looking forward to is Ender's Game, frankly, which is a holiday film. That's not till the end of the year. So there's nothing really in the summertime that I'm looking forward to.
Well, how about Iron Man 3?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, why? Look, we just seriously.
Didn't we just do that?
We Iron Man 2 stank, and then we just had Avengers is basically a great big Iron Man with a lot of supporting cast. I mean, yeah, it's the Avengers, but Robert Downey Jr. really dominates that movie.
Well, that's true.
He dominates the movie.
The entire sensibility of the film is his.
It's an Iron Man movie. It's not a Thor movie.
Well, okay.
It's not a Hulk movie.
How about this? Here's a tentpole film. It's not really tentpole-y, but it's sort of mid-budget tentpole. You and I are both looking forward to Kick-Ass 2.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Better believe it. As long as it keeps the same sensibilities. Don't PG-13 this thing. Please don't. Do not take it down a notch.
I bet they will.
Oh, that would be awful if they did that.
And you're looking forward to Man of Steel.
I'll be fair. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt because, in this case, he's a hired hand. And if somebody can sort of, corral him and his slow motion, speed up slow motion inclinations, which is sort of the only stylistic device that he has. By the way, speaking of stylistic devices, that thing that you sent me on Tom Hooper, funny.
Wait, what did I send you?
You sent me a thing.
Oh, if Tom Hooper directed your movie?
Yeah. All those still shots if they had been in a Tom Hooper movie. It's just reframing them. It's really funny. It's very funny.
Although I admit I'm looking forward to World War Z. Because I like the trailer. Zombies everywhere.
I will
the ultimate zombie
I will
film.
speak more about that at a later date.
Oh, really?
A little bit. I mean,
Do you know something about it?
I don't know anything about it. I know someone who's in it.
What? You know Brad Pitt?
No, I don't know Brad Pitt.
And I'm not looking forward to Pacific Rim. I feel like Pacific Rim is that whole mecha thing that was popular like 5 years ago.
Pacific Rim is going to be fun on only a certain level, which is that we know that it's Benicio del Toro doing a just riffing on a genre. We know that he's just going to have fun with it, but I don't expect anything deep. It'll be fun, but that'll be it.
True. Not looking forward to Lone Ranger.
Oh, hell no.
Not looking forward to After Earth, which is the Will Smith thing.
Sorry, Guillermo del Toro. What did I say? Benicio del Toro.
You did.
Guillermo del Toro. I know. I was getting my del Toros mixed up. Sorry.
Hansel and Gretel is already the worst movie of the year.
Oh, speaking of,
yes?
We got some Hansel and Gretel action to talk about today.
What, really? You mean brother on sister action?
Oh, as long as you brought it up. Let's start.
It's on Blu-ray already.
Let's start the show there, Mark. Not only is it on Blu-ray. Oh, wait a minute. No, hold on. These are different Hansel and Gretels. This is what happens when a movie called Hansel and Gretel comes out.
Gronsel and Hedel.
Everyone else who has any kind of a movie called Hansel and Gretel comes out with theirs.
Yes.
Look at this. Check this out.
Now the
right?
one. Yes. Now
right?
what? No. Blah.
Now this one. This is of course our good friends at the Asylum, who do all their mockbusters, and this is very intentionally designed. This is the Asylum release from the Brothers Grimm, Hansel and Gretel. Classic tale, horrifyingly real. This is our good friends over at the Asylum, who I've known for years. And I love their whole mockbuster concept because they are carrying on the grand tradition of Samuel Arkoff and Roger Corman. They're the only people who are doing this. They crank these things out. And this will probably wind up being a whole lot better than the one that is being the big budget version released in theaters. Anyway, look, it's a total rip. Of course it is, but it's put together very well for a movie that's put together incredibly quickly. It's on Blu-ray. The Blu-ray's decent. It's got a cast and crew commentary, and look, again, it's got to be better than the one that's in theaters. It just has to be. A lot less impressive is Hansel and Gretel: Warriors of Witchcraft, which looks like a pilot for a CW show, doesn't it? This stars Fievel Stewart, Boo Boo Stewart, Eric Roberts, and Vanessa Angel. The only person there I've ever heard of is Eric Roberts. I'd like to know what is with this Stewart family that they name their kids Fievel and Boo Boo. Are you serious? Fievel and Boo Boo?
You know what? I wish my name was Fievel.
Those are cartoon characters. Fievel is the mouse from American Tail, and Boo Boo is Yogi's friend. You're naming your children after...
Friends with benefits.
Whatever.
See, they didn't really talk about what Yogi and Boo Boo's relationship really was. Friends with benefits.
I'm going to go wash now.
Picnic basket, that's just like that's a euphemism.
Oh.
Really means something else.
You have just
picnic
sullied my childhood memories. Anyway, apparently these two people, Boo Boo and Fievel, have some kind of a profile with the kids. I guess Boo Boo Stewart is in the Twilight movies. Not that I have any idea what their names are that I can tell them apart. I know there's a few kids there that are like dating or something in the Twilight movies, right? Robert and Kristen something or other.
I'm trying to avoid those things.
Whatever.
I'm trying, now that they're gone, I want to avoid thinking about them.
Well, anyway, bottom line here is we got a couple Hansel and Gretel movies. If you want to just augment your Hansel and Gretel inundation, there's a couple here that you can add to the one that's in theaters so that you see everything that has nothing to do with the original Hansel and Gretel. Isn't that funny?
No. It's
Nothing
typical.
To do with any of it.
It's sadly typical.
Mark, why don't you talk about this meta movie that you really liked, which I have not seen?
Yeah, Seven Psychopaths got a whole lot of love at the time, and when I saw it, I was kind of thinking to myself, it's got that whole, like Wade says, that meta thing where the script is about the movie, which is the name of the script, which is the movie, which cycles back on itself because the movie is the script, which is the movie that they're making and the script that they're making. And I get that, but and sure it's okay. There's one scene in this movie that is absolutely hilarious. Literally, probably the funniest 7 minutes of film I saw all last year.
So I need to see it.
It is so funny. Yes,
I need to see it. Okay.
It's a scene in I won't tell you what it is. It's a scene in a graveyard.
Okay.
And it is absolutely drop dead hilarious.
Okay.
But the rest of it is just a little bit too in love with itself as it tells the story of a writer who's struggling to finish his new movie, which is called Seven Psychopaths. And so he's helped out by his best friend, who's an unemployed actor, played by the always priceless Sam Rockwell. And they start to get into this thing where they kidnap, or where they find lost dogs and return them to their owners. Actually, they kidnap the dog and then return to the owners for the reward. And then Christopher Walken's involved. It's just meta to the max. And I really don't like a lot of that stuff. I just feel it's way too in love with itself. But I am a big fan of Martin McDonagh, who wrote the great In Bruges.
I love Martin McDonagh. I do.
And he's a great playwright, and In Bruges was wonderful. And this film almost feels like the movie that he had in his closet that he finally got the clout to make because of In Bruges. So I'm kind of curious as to what he's going to do next. But Seven Psychopaths, it's a good rental. Look, it's a good rental because it's unique. It's got some funny stuff in it. I'm glad Colin Farrell is kind of back because I always like Colin Farrell. It's got this hilarious 7-minute sequence in a graveyard that will just bowl you over. It's so funny. But ultimately, it's just a little bit too leisurely. It's a little bit too in love with itself. It's just a little bit too meta. And I was just too ridiculous for me. But again, I'm kind of in the minority because people loved it. Special features include not that much.
An interesting film that did not get a theatrical release, and it got ripped on. A lot of people who reviewed it, who have reviewed it already on DVD and Blu-ray, are really being very unkind to it. It's All Superheroes Must Die. It is a lower budget, surprisingly good production value, actually, for this particular film. It is a lower budget, straight to DVD, straight to video superhero film with James Remar as just a delicious villain. And come on, is there anyone that plays bad better than James Remar?
I've loved him since 48 Hours.
I mean, seriously, Cotton Club. He's just a bad dude. He just plays it beautifully, and he's the bad guy, and he takes a town hostage, and these superheroes have to kind of meet these challenges to save the people, as it were. This is produced by, written by, and directed by Jason Trost, who I'm not familiar with, but it's definitely a total family affair because Sarah Trost, who I am going to assume is his wife, is the costume designer. And as it happens, he's also one of the stars of the movie. So this is definitely a Jason Trost one-man show. And it's not a bad kind of audition movie. I mean, it's not going to be a classic superhero film. But I think, anyone that looks at this and says, wow, you basically willed this movie into existence, not bad. Pretty decent on Blu-ray, not a classic Blu-ray. It's just kind of thrown out there. Image did probably the best that they could because the movie had a limited budget. I'm going to assume that most of the sweetening happened in post. So it's respectable, worth a rental if you're a superhero fan. Hello, I Must Be Going from Oscilloscope. This is director Todd Luizzo's new film. Came out last year. Todd Luizzo, of course, probably better known as an actor in High Fidelity, among other movies, where he always plays that kind of serio-comic sad guy. And his movies are kind of like that. They're sort of serio-comic sad movies. I always remember that scene in High Fidelity when he's listening to, Morrissey, and Jack Black comes in and just rips him a new one because he's listening to all
this sad crap?
That sad stuff, and he pops on, Walking on Sunshine and dances his fool head off. Before we even knew who Jack Black really was. That was one of his first big supporting roles. Anyway, Hello, I Must Be Going is worth watching because, and of course, like all Oscilloscope titles, comes in the kind of recycled cardboard eco packaging. It stars Melanie Lynskey, who was always wonderful on 2.5 Men. I always forget Melanie Lynskey is a Kiwi. She's from New Zealand,
You mean she's an actual fruit?
Exactly.
She's
yes,
like a
she
small
is.
brown.
I knew I was going to so regret even saying that. No, because she was in Beautiful Creatures originally.
Oh, yeah.
That was her big supporting breakthrough.
Sure.
And you watch on enough seasons of 2.5 Men, and you forget completely that English, the American accent, is not part of her native English tongue. So, she's from New Zealand, and she's wonderful here. Once again, playing an American. But it's a very, very kind of morose part because she's a young woman who recently got divorced, and she moves back in with her parents and tries to get her life back together and winds up basically having an affair with this younger guy played by Christopher Abbott. Parents are played by Blythe Danner and John Rubinstein. And it's kind of, I've seen this story a lot. You know, there's nothing new here for me, and it has that very Sundance-y feel. And really the only thing you can kind of hang on to is Melanie Linsky, because she's really, really good. But I don't know if that's enough. Todd Luizzo, yeah, he's got chops, but he's got to stop making movies that feel like serio-comic sad movies.
That's all he knows how to make.
That's all he knows how to make.
He's not making Avengers.
I guess. All right, Mark, give me some Buñuel.
Let's talk about Buñuel, Wade. Buñuel, who had a very long career.
Yeah.
His career lasted like decades. One of his best films, his most popular films, was called That Obscure Object of Desire.
Oh, I love this movie.
Now, I don't know how to explain this movie. It's a romance between this middle-aged, wealthy French guy and a young dancer.
You can't explain Buñuel to anybody.
You really can't.
You just have to accept that Buñuel's movies, because he was a surrealist, you have to accept that whatever story they appear to have, it's really secondary to just sort of taking you on an existential kind of trip. You're on a little trip. No, this got some Oscar nominations.
You know
too.
what? Actually, it got Best Foreign Film nomination by the Globes, I think, too, and definitely the Oscars.
Yeah.
But it also nominated for a bunch of other Oscars, including I think Best Screenplay. Actually, I think it was Best Adapted Screenplay.
Yeah.
But it's good stuff. It's I don't know if you are not familiar with Buñuel. Do you want to start here?
This is a Blu-ray.
Yes.
You know what? You can start anywhere. I mean,
it's all the same.
There are some Buñuels that are out from Criterion, which might be a better place to start. But it's great to have this on Blu-ray because Buñuel's films are just gorgeous looking.
They are. So basically, what we're doing is we are talking about Buñuel without actually talking about this movie because we don't really know how to explain it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
That's true. But The Golden Age is a great one. Exterminating Angels might be my favorite of his films. I don't know. It's Buñuel. It's just crazy stuff. Can I just say it's crazy stuff?
It's crazy stuff.
It is really crazy stuff.
Yeah.
But the Blu-ray looks great, although the movie's obviously a little bit older, but the Blu-ray still looks really good. And it's from 1977, so there you go. Special features include a portrait of Louis Buñuel, which is a good starter if you don't know who he is, and a couple of interviews with various people involved in the film. So That Obscure Object of Desire is impossible to explain, but essential viewing.
It is cool. And Carol Bouquet,
she smells good.
She's awesome. No, Carol Bouquet from For Your Eyes Only. She's wonderful.
Yeah, Bouquet.
Yeah,
she smells good. Bouquet.
We got
You missed that. Totally missed that.
I got it. Just damn you. From 1964, we have a really terrific DVD release. I wish this were on Blu-ray. I really, really do. It's a very important, significant film. It is the remarkable adaptation of John Howard Griffin's memoir called Black Like Me. The movie dates a little bit, obviously, because it forces you to suspend your disbelief in ways that it almost makes it look a little bit silly. Because the idea is that James Whitmore is a white guy who disguises himself, puts on makeup, and pretends to be a black man. And goes through the South to see what, he basically wants to get inside the experience of a black man during the Civil Rights era. And this is right around the time the Civil Rights Act was being passed in 1964. And the memoir was written in 1959. So between the book and the movie, it's really rooted right in that very, very incendiary and seminal period. And it's a really, really good film. You got a lot of extraordinary supporting performances in here from major actors, Will Geer, Roscoe Lee Brown, Clifton James, who were all very much activists at the time. So they lent their credibility to the film, and it benefits as a result. But I wish it were on Blu-ray because it's such a well-shot film. It's such beautiful black and white. But that being said, the fact that the film is out is really significant. It doesn't get enough credit. It really is one of only a handful of films that were made during the Civil Rights era. And frankly, Corman's film with William Shatner, The Intruder, is one of those.
That's true. That's a great film. One of Corman's best.
Absolutely. And there are very few films from the era that were made about the era. And this is one of them. So it is really historically significant. It's very important that it's out. It's a 2-disc set. And James Whitmore has never been better. But again, given what we expect of makeup and suspension of disbelief today, you do have to sort of take a step into 1960s era low budget movie land in order to really kind of get with this. If you start going, why does everybody look at James Whitmore like he's black? It's obvious he's James Whitmore. You got to sort of step away from that. So that being said, it is a really, really worthwhile movie.
Or what you could do is you can watch that and then watch the old Saturday Night Live skit where Eddie Murphy dresses as a white guy.
Oh, yeah.
He tries to pass as a white guy.
Or he is as Jerry Lewis and Frank Sinatra and numerous others.
Yeah.
We also have a couple from Twilight Time. We love Twilight Time. Twilight Time, like Olive Films, and we got some other Olive Films coming up as well. Twilight Time licenses and releases a lot of studio stuff from their libraries that they just otherwise wouldn't do. And you can only get these from screenarchives.com. There are limited numbers of them. There are only a few thousand of these each. So if you miss out on these, you're going to have to pray that somebody that a used one shows up at your local used record store or something, because there are limited pressings. One of them is the very, very cool Experiment in Terror, which is a Blake Edwards film, believe it or not, from 1962. Blake Edwards didn't just do comedies and light fare. He actually did, at a certain point, do some movies like Days of Wine and Roses and stuff that had some real bite to it before he kind of went out on his own. What I love about this is it's got a great performance from Lee Remick and a terrific performance from Ross Martin, my good old friend Ross Martin, who was on
Wild
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 West. Yes. Ross Martin is he's so evil, and he's stalking poor Lee Remick, who just plays the stalked girl so beautifully. Stephanie Powers is in here, a young Stephanie Powers, long before she was helping Steve Austin better understand the needs of the alien race that built Bigfoot. You know that, right?
I have no idea what you just
You
said.
have no idea what I just said. Okay, never
Something
mind.
about Bigfoot.
Steve Austin, $6 Million Man,
Barely Alive.
Stephanie Powers. Yeah, never
Lame.
mind.
Lame.
I could have made a heart-to-heart reference, but I don't really
That
want
show sucked.
Well, the thing is,
Heart-to-heart?
I can't go to a heart-to-heart reference because Robert Wagner is apparently under investigation again with the whole
for killing Natalie Wood.
That story won't go away, and
Because
it's just,
supposedly, she before she hit the water, she was beaten up.
I know. Oh God.
The thing is that Wagner still around? Christopher Walken's still around? Somebody knows what happened.
I know.
And somebody.
Well, the latest thing is that Robert Wagner won't talk to the police again.
That's
everyone
right.
Everyone else has given their new interviews. He's like, I'm done.
Somebody, even the captain of the boat, isn't he still around?
Yeah.
They're all still around.
You have no idea how devastated I was when that happened. I mean, Natalie Wood was like it to me. She was everything, and I collected all the newspaper clippings and the entire papers, and I stacked it in my closet, and it became silverfish food, and it was just, I was so depressed, and now I'm depressed all over again. And that has nothing to do with Experiment in Terror, which features, among other things, a terrific, awesome, unbelievably great Henry Mancini score, which is available here as an isolated score track, as they are in all of these Twilight Time titles. That's Experiment in Terror, just a terrific movie. Also, one of my favorite of the Bond spin-off movies. Everybody had to do a Bond-ish film back in the 50s and 60s once the whole Bond thing took off. Then, you had things like Matt Helm with Dean Martin and, of course, Our Man Flint.
Yeah.
Now, James
Coburn
just rules because he made Flint his own thing. It when you look at it now, it doesn't even feel like a Bond spin-off, but it's or a Bond spoof. But it really, that's what it is. But it's its own thing. It's so good that it stands apart. You don't actually have to have any kind of James Bond familiarity to really appreciate it. It's an awful lot of fun. It's a really, really good movie. And it's probably Coburn's most famous role now, wouldn't you say?
Oh, totally.
It's amazing.
He's awesome.
I mean, he's Flint. He's Our Man Flint. It's on Blu-ray. And some unusually rich extras here for a Twilight Time title. It's got, obviously, the isolated score track, which is quite good. And then you got an audio commentary with film historians Lee Pfeiffer and Eddie Friedfeld. A little featurette on Daniel Mann, the director, and a few other little featurettes. One is Flint versus Cale, which gets into Pauline Kael's feelings about the movie, which I thought was really terrific. And some storyboard sequences, the original trailer, and screen tests. It is a really, really fun Blu-ray. I would recommend this for anyone who wants to see a really, really cool, just groovy, funky 60s spy film. I love the OSS 117 movies. This is right up there, except this was made in the day.
That's true.
Yeah.
And they made a sequel.
Yeah, they did.
Well, there's In Like Flint.
Yeah.
There's Our Man Flint.
Yeah.
There's...
This is still the best, though.
That's still the best one.
It's still the best one.
Yep. Wait, let's go back to 1932 and talk about White Zombie. Now, Bela Lugosi, who was mostly, of course, known as playing Dracula in Todd Browning's film, stars here as White Zombie. Now, he's not the actual White Zombie, but the thing with Lugosi is that he was always kind of typecast because he did all those horror, Universal horror films, but also because he had this really thick Hungarian accent that kind of kept him from doing different types of roles. So White Zombie was kind of his attempt to, do something a little bit different. It really was kind of a low-budget movie directed by Victor Halperin. It didn't really do very well, and I don't know if it really ages that well. It's really more a movie of its time and a movie for Bela Lugosi historians, of which there are a couple out there who want to kind of see how his career developed. The movie's about a woman who comes under like a curse and becomes a zombie. The White Zombie.
Awesome.
May I say.
Awesome.
There's some good interviews.
Nothing racial about that.
No, that is true. Now, the great, Kino always comes up with good extras for their stuff. Now, here we have a 6-minute interview with Bela Lugosi from 1932.
Nice.
And an audio commentary from film historian Frank Thompson, which, of course, is very good. It feels like he's reading off prepared notes, but still, there's a lot of good information there. So this is good stuff. It's good stuff if you like, back in the day, it was Bela Lugosi versus Lon Chaney. They were the two big, monster movie actors. Now, Lon Chaney died very young, but Bela Lugosi stuck around for a while. In fact, most people, younger than us, will know of Bela Lugosi because he was portrayed by Martin Landau in Tim Burton's Ed Wood.
Yes.
So people might know
Love
Bela Lugosi from that.
Yeah.
But Bela Lugosi really was
a big deal.
A big deal back in the 30s.
Yep.
So that's White Zombie. It's on Blu-ray and DVD. Not much difference because, the movie's so old.
Well, we're going to stay in the 30s, Mark, and we're going to talk about the Boris Karloff triple feature from the Warner Archive collection. You can get more of this at warnerarchive.com. Boris Karloff was not just a monster guy. He was really a very efficient and effective character actor for Warner Brothers back in the 30s. And this is 3 of his more unknown films. They're all kind of lesser movies. Interesting for Boris Karloff fans. If you really want to kind of immerse yourself in his career, this is a good way to go. But otherwise, don't expect greatness here. Don't expect to watch these and think, my gosh, why didn't that win Best Picture? There's nothing like that here. This is just more for Karloff fans. 3 films from the late 1930s, West of Shanghai, The Invisible Menace, and Devil's Island. All of them are very much of the era. They're all very kind of genre-y adventure thriller movies with a little bit of a political spin at the time. This was during a very tense part of history of the 20th century. In the late 30s, Hitler was in power, the Japanese had invaded China. The tensions that would eventually erupt into World War II were very, very much already on the horizon. Everyone sort of knew what was coming. They were just sort of waiting for the wave to crash. So you feel that kind of tension in all of these. They're capitalizing on what was in the zeitgeist. West of Shanghai might be the best one here. Karloff plays a warlord who's holding hostage a bunch of Americans in a Chinese mission. You got a little bit of a spy thing going on with Karloff as an ex-con in The Invisible Menace. And then he plays a doctor in Devil's Island who has been wrongly accused of doing some rather nasty things. He's a very, very efficient workman-like actor, and you really see his range here, even if the movies are much more appreciated in context of the time.
And Karloff and Lugosi, they were sort of the two.
Yeah, they were.
They were the two guys who did all those sorts of roles, and they had an interesting relationship. I think that they were rivals for a while. Then they were friends for a while, and it's true. I mean, they both did the same sorts of roles. I know that Karloff did a lot of those sorts of roles, and I know that there was some mistrust there. I think that Lugosi thought that Karloff was like upstaging him when they would do movies together. Because they were competing for the same roles, even though they oftentimes appeared together in movies.
Very true.
So there was sort of like a bit of a rivalry there, but it's interesting stuff.
We also have a couple of classic educational short series installments from the Kino Classics line. These have been around for a number of years, and they are just always thoroughly entertaining. This is volume 5 and 6. of these sets that feature just all of those wacky shorts that a lot of us grew up with. They were all made in the 50s and 60s, and some in the 40s. I think the late 40s is when they started making these things after World War II, mostly kind of Red Scare stuff, Duck and Cover, The Russians Are Coming, hygiene films, don't get venereal disease. And they're so goofy, and they're so kind of corny and academic, and they are such great party things to watch now. You throw this onto your home theater system when you have people over for a dinner party, and they're just going to be howling. I mean, it's really, really fun stuff, and you don't have to pay attention to like a short film or a movie. It's all just, it's goofy no matter when you look at it. Volume 5 is Rules for School, and Volume 6 is Troubled Teens, and they break these down, obviously, according to themes. Rules for School, believe it or not, actually, I think is maybe the funnier one, even though Troubled Teens is the campier one. Rules for School just kills me. Like, when should grown-ups stop fights? Maintaining classroom discipline. Rescue Man. Making the most of school. School spirit and sportsmanship. I got to tell you, school spirit and sportsmanship is just a complete riot because it's so obsolete now.
These things are awesome. And you know what's awesome are not only these sorts of keynote releases like Rules for School, but also when Mystery Science Theater makes fun of them.
Oh, it's always fun to watch. Storytelling. Can you tell it in order? What? Seriously? School rules and how they help us. How quiet helps at school. Troubled Teens. Some great titles here. They tell you everything. Mark, tell me that you aren't dying to see Condoms, a Responsible Option. And that's a recent one. That's from 1985.
Really?
Yeah, that's like, that's almost 30 years ago, but that's not like the 50s and 60s. Then we got one here from 1972, Talking to Your Teenager About VD.
Awesome.
From 1970, from Kansas State University, A Case for Beer. Did they even think about that? A case for beer? It's a pun. Silly people. When I'm Old Enough, Goodbye. So touching. LA Board of Supervisors from 1983, The Gang. I mean, that's another recent one. It's crazy. And my favorite here is the very first one. It's called As Boys Grow.
Aww.
I dare you not to just absolutely keel over, double over, and cry with laughter so hard while you're watching As Boys Grow. A lot of this is just all dead serious, but it's so funny.
Wait, less funny is the Blu-ray premiere of Titanic. No, not that Titanic. This is the Titanic starring Clifton Webb, Barbara Stanwyck from 1953. This thing was co-written by Charles Brackett, who wrote at least 10 Billy Wilder films. So Charles Brackett is like a hardcore. That guy's like hardcore. He is a great writer, and this film is actually an Oscar winner. It's won Oscar, I think, for writing, for screenplay, or something like that. So it's a good movie. I mean, it's not as historically accurate, let's say, as the Cameron Titanic. It's not as grand and special effects laden as the Cameron Titanic. This one really, although the one thing that this one and the Cameron Titanic they do have in common is the fact that the movie starts with a very personal story. It's about husband and wife, and they're having a little bit of problems with their marriage, and you see the experience of the sinking of the Titanic through this estranged couple that who are having problems with their relationship. So it's good stuff. 20th Century Fox did a good job with the DVD. There's a commentary by Richard Schickel. By the way, Richard Schickel, did you see Richard Schickel at our awards?
Oh, I was not at the awards.
Oh, that's right, you weren't at the awards.
No, I watched a lot of it streaming.
So Richard Schickel, who is the long time film critic for Time Magazine, one of the great film critics of modern times.
Grumble, grumble, grumble.
He looks terrible.
He's lost a lot of weight.
He's hunched over. He looks really old. He's walking really slow. I mean, it was like, oh my God, Richard.
Yeah, well, he hasn't. He's a lifelong smoker too. I mean, he's not in great shape.
I know he sure didn't look like it at our dinner.
No.
Anyway, some great special features, including a commentary by Schickel, which of course is always good. Commentary by actually, there's a commentary by Robert Wagner and Audrey Dalton. Audrey Dalton appears in the film, and along with an historian, so that's good. There's some Fox Movie Tone News stuff that I always love, but the film itself is good. It's good stuff. Look, the Titanic sinking stuff looks like it looks like it was done in a big gigantic pool, which it was. But that being said, it's a good movie. In fact, I think that A Night to Remember, I might prefer this over A Night to Remember.
Interesting. Yeah.
Even though A Night to Remember is another Oscar. I mean,
Stanwyck.
Didn't I remember win Best Picture?
No. Oh heavens, no.
No, what did I win? That won something.
It won like effects or something like that, or.
But people tend to when they think of the Titanic, they tend to think of Cameron's Titanic and A Night to Remember. They don't think of this one.
No.
But I think people should.
Yeah, they should.
It is a good movie.
It is a good movie.
Thank you.
Shout Factory has done us a wonderful gift. They have come out with a movie that I honestly never thought would come out in any kind of special edition on Blu-ray. I thought this would just kind of, eventually show up negligibly and be forgotten. But Universal has allowed Shout Factory to do what... companies like Twilight Time and Olive do, which is give a real sheen to a movie that they themselves were not going to even give a second thought to. And so we now have the special edition Blu-ray and DVD set of the 7% Solution.
Yeah.
Now, I am not the fan of Nicholas Meyer that Mark is. Mark obviously loves Wrath of Khan and everything that comes out of Nicholas Meyer's pie hole. He thinks is
well, that's
canon.
Not true. But this is a a movie.
It is a good movie.
This is a delightful film.
This is Nicholas Meyer at his best. And there were a lot of these kind of. How would we put it? These sort of reinvention of Sherlock Holmes, or these continuation of Sherlock Holmes movies around about this time. You had like Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother, and what was the Billy Wilder one?
Oh, it was Young Sherlock.
Young Sherlock Holmes. It was
like one of his last films.
Yeah, it was one of, if not the last. It was.
Hang on, no, keep talking. I'll remember it.
The Billy Wilder film. Anyway, so 7% Solution is really, really cool because it wraps Sigmund Freud into Sherlock Holmes and vice versa, and you get this really kind of cool historical fictional fusion.
Private Life of Sherlock Holmes.
You get this cool historical fictional fusion film, which is just so nicely put together, and it's well written. And Nicholas Meyer, who is basically known as a director, Wrath of Khan and all that stuff. I mean, this is his book. He wrote this as a book first, and then adapted his own book into a movie. So this is essentially when he went from being, a writer to a filmmaker. And he did a great job of it. I mean, it's wonderful. Really nicely done. Terrific cast. Incredible cast featuring Nicol Williamson, who would later play Merlin in Excalibur, is fantastic as Holmes. And then you've got, Vanessa Redgrave, who is just absolutely delightful. Alan Arkin plays Sigmund Freud. Robert Duvall plays Watson. And it's just a lot of fun. And then in addition to that, you think, oh, this movie couldn't possibly get better. And then Laurence Olivier shows up, and Joel Grey shows up, and Samantha Eggar, who some of us still remember, shows up. And it's a really fun movie with a great score, by the way, from John Addison. Not much by way of special features, just an interview with Nicholas Meyer, but it is a really good transfer. Shout did a great job of it, and you get the Blu-ray and the DVD. First rate. Love it. 7% Solution.
Yep, I agree. Good stuff. I love that movie. No way, we got to talk about two from Woody Allen.
Finally, do it. More Woody Allen Blu-rays, damn it. Get them out there.
Now, the thing with Woody Allen Blu-rays is that you got to understand there will never be special features on any of these. Woody will never do an audio commentary.
No, he's not
Couldn't
interested.
care less.
Woody doesn't even know how to put a DVD player in the DVD player, or to put a DVD in the DVD player. He doesn't know how.
Woody probably doesn't even know that these exist, other than the fact that he gets a check, with maybe a little bit of bump in money in it because he gets the Blu-ray residuals.
As long as he makes one movie a year and keeps making a movie a year for as long as I'm alive, I'm okay.
Exactly.
Which means he's going to have to hang around until he's about 130. But that's, hey, get it done, Woody.
Exactly. First we have Sleeper. And Sleeper was part of Woody's, let's call it the early Funny One years. And of the, this is 1973, and of the early Funny One years, this one is, to me, is probably the least consistently funny.
Oh, I think Sleeper's hysterical.
But it's hysterical.
Oh, it's so
hysterical.
funny.
I mean, I love Take the Money and Run is probably my... and
Love and Death.
Take the Money and Run and Love and Death are the ones that, to me, are consistently top to bottom. Every 30 seconds, another great laugh. This one starts out great and becomes really good.
When he emerges from sleep and he's in that kind of weird, goofy, drunk state in the wheelchair, rolling around, and they're trying to talk, and he's going into the background and off camera and coming back around. I mean, that is one of the most hysterically funny moments in any movie ever made, and the way it's directed is genius. I for anyone who wants to see how you execute comedy from the standpoint of a director, just watch that scene. It is genius, absolute genius.
Oh, it's too damn funny. Anyway, Woody Allen plays a contemporary nerd who goes into cryogenic freeze, and he comes out in a future world where he has to fight the government.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's with Diane Keaton also. his longtime muse and girlfriend and everything. Anyway, Sleeper's just hilarious. It's just so much great stuff. Now, here's the thing. On the top here, I'm noticing it says the Woody Allen Collection. Mm-hmm. Right up top here.
Yeah, that means
makes me wonder.
More will be coming.
Which makes me wonder.
Well, it's all the stuff that was boxed by MGM back in the day. They're now going to release them one at a time on Blu-ray. So that means yes, they're all finally going to be coming out. All of those that you have in your Woody Allen collection box sets from MGM DVD 10 years ago.
I wish they would just come out with a whole Blu-ray box set of Woody Allen stuff.
And they probably will when Christmas time rolls around.
But there's like 45 Woody Allen films.
Well, the ones that are in the MGM collection, they came out with three. I mean, if I recall, it was 3 different box sets. Vamp. I'll look it up.
Okay. The other one that's coming out is Hannah and Her Sisters. Hannah and Her Sisters from 1986. This is the Oscar-winning drama.
There were 11 that were released originally in those box sets.
They need to come out with those 11 in one big box set so I can buy it.
Hannah and Her Sisters and Sleeper, obviously, we just mentioned, but there's also Alice, Another Woman, Crimes and Misdemeanors, September, Shadows and Fog, Zelig, Radio Days, Midsummer Night's Sex Comedy.
I mean,
Purple Rose of Cairo.
They're all great, except for
Broadway Danny Rose.
Except for maybe Midnight Summer Sex Comedy. That's not my favorite, but the rest are great. Anyway, Hannah and Her Sisters is Woody at his best. The writing here is great. This is him in sort of that not serial comic mode. I mean, there's some funny, not funny stuff in it, but there's some cute, clever stuff in it. But mainly, it's just about, as Woody said when he was trying to justify the Soon-Yi debacle, he said the heart wants what it wants, and in Hannah and Her Sisters you've got 3 sisters and a couple of guys, and they sort of mix and match relationships going from one to the other. Michael Caine won an Oscar for it. Woody Allen's in it, Mia Farrow's in it, Barbara Hershey, Diane Wiest, Max von Sydow's in it, Carrie Fisher, and it's just great. I mean, it's just got this amazing sense of purpose, and it's a great script. It's very assured. It's just brimming with just good feeling and love. It's great.
One of his very best films. It is a magical movie.
Yep, it really is
a magical movie.
Hannah and Her Sisters.
So good.
Go buy it. Buy it right now.
We got a bunch of John Wayne stuff here, and all of his, I don't know what deal with the devil they signed, but all of his releasing John Wayne films by the bucketful every month now. And this is an interesting set of them because you look at them and you go, all right, oh. And so I'm going to go through the before I get to the ah. First, we've got a George Sherman-directed film called Frontier Horizon. This is another one of those 3 Musketeers movies, with Musketeer spelled like mesquite, right? We talked about a few of those some weeks ago, Mesquiteers. John Wayne, Ray Corrigan, and Raymond Hatton, basically just doing that thing, that kind of generic Western Three Amigos thing, except not funny. And these were all B-Westerns from the 30s and 40s. It just, whatever. We got one that is sort of nominally part of that, King of the Pecos, directed by Joseph Kane. And this is another very workmanlike John Wayne Western from the 30s. Not that spectacular. It sort of does all the stuff that his movies were doing at the time. Really a generic programmer. Both of those on Blu-ray, as is The New Frontier, directed by Carl Pearson, which is yet another one of those kind of workmanlike movies where Wayne is sort of forming his persona. This is, I think, a little better than the others. He's a sheriff who's trying to clean up the town. We've seen that a trillion times before. But, you do get the sense here, this is 1935, that he's maybe a little bit more assured with Pearson directing him, maybe likes the role a little bit better. But you know what? Then you get to the crown jewel. Thank you, Olive, for the 1952 Blu-ray release of The Quiet Man, the wonderful John Ford film with John Wayne, Maureen O'Hara, and Barry Fitzgerald. That is sort of like John Ford's love letter to the land of his ancestors, to Ireland. And I know a lot of people don't like this film. Ray Green, for example, our good friend Ray Green, who is 100% pure American Irish, really is not fond of this movie, is not fond of how it sort of depicts the Irish. I'm part Irish, too. I'm 25% Irish. My grandmother was Irish. And I love it. So I'm entitled to say I like this movie a lot. I think it's wonderful. I always watch it, and I always think of the scene that they depict here with John Wayne and Maureen O'Hara that they have on the cover of the DVD, of the cover of the Blu-ray. Mark, what other movie pays tribute to this and that scene?
Was it directed by Ron Howard?
No.
Was it directed by Steven Spielberg?
Yes.
Is it Minority Report?
No.
Is it
That's
Lincoln?
No. Yeah, that's that scene in Lincoln when he's watching a John Ford movie and he's thinking, damn, that guy really made good Westerns. No, it's E.T. If you remember in E.T. when they let the frogs loose in the classroom, it's intercut with E.T. watching The Quiet Man. That's when they're starting to connect. And remember, he restages the scene with What's-Her-Face, who wound up on Baywatch.
Oh, that's right.
Erica Eleniak, little Erica Eleniak.
Right.
Yeah.
I did not put those together.
Yes.
I did not.
Quiet Man is a wonderful, wonderful movie. Gosh, you just don't miss it. It really is fantastic. John Wayne playing, the boxer who gives up fighting after he kills a guy and goes back to the Irish town where he came from, and it just gets wonderful and romantic and pastoral, and it's absolutely fantastic. One of John Ford's very best. It's really just heartfelt, and I can't say enough good things about it. This was, by the way, co-produced by Marion C. Cooper, who, of course, is one of the great
King Kong
guys. Yeah. So that, despite all of these kind of otherwise negligible John Wayne movies that are strictly for fans, The Quiet Man is a triumph. Bravo, Olive Films. Good call.
Wade, there's an interesting film that I can recommend as a rental. Martin Campbell, who I think is one of the better kind of rent-and-action directors. He's a rent-and-action director.
He's really good, though. He's done a number.
I like him.
He's done some of the better Bond films, and he did No Escape, which I love. That was his big action breakthrough. Did you ever see No Escape?
Yeah, with Ray Liotta, right?
That is a damn fine film. You know why it's such a great film? Because it starts off. I love movies that do something really stylish and effective at the very, very beginning. The credit sequence takes place over this shot, this like extreme canted overhead shot where a guy is like reviewing troops and one of the troops kills him, just walks right up and just blows his head away. And it's done in such a matter-of-fact way. You sit there as an audience and you just go, what just happened? And then you don't need that exposition for the rest of the movie. Now you understand. Ray Liotta, he shot some dude he shouldn't have, and he's now on this prison island. And is he guilty? Did he do it out of conscience? Is he a bad dude? Now you can explore all those existential questions without having to waste a lot of time on some kind of trumped-up exposition. Really smart filmmaking.
All right, so basically,
So
Wade...
that being said, I just there's nothing to do with this
fine.
movie.
So Wade and I are on board with Martin Campbell. Now, Martin Campbell... he's been around for longer than we think. He made his film debut in 1974.
I know. He was around a long time.
In a movie called The Sex Thief. Now, The Sex Thief is basically just a low-budget sex romp kind of a movie. But you know what? It's really kind of interesting. It stars... It's really a nobody cast. But it's about this jewel thief who wears a mask and he busts into homes of married couples while the husband's gone. And then he not only steals the jewels, but he has sex with the woman who's in the house. And it's part of this kind of UK 70s kind of sex romp thing that they went through back then. And but this one is a little better than the rest, mostly because Martin Campbell is stylish no matter what the budget. The guy's got a sense of energy and fun, and he's creative. And even though I'm not going to say this is a great film, it's kind of an interesting film. I would definitely check out The Sex Thief. It's good for a rental is what I would do on The Sex Thief. Good stuff. Interesting stuff.
Good deal.
And you know what? You should watch this, and then when you're done with it, you can look at it and say, even this low-budget 70s sex romp is better than Green Lantern.
Nice. A bunch of Olive films.
Which, by the way, was a Martin Campbell film. And a terrible one at that.
Oh, that's right. Oh, my gosh. I'd totally forgotten that. I didn't even get your reference for a second.
Terrible.
Oh. Poor Martin Campbell. His career deserves better. We have a whole slew of Olive films. Well, not a whole slew. We got four. Four more Olive titles to talk about real quickly. One is Stanley Donen's terrific Indiscreet with Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman. This has been out on public domain titles a number of times. It just never looks right. And we finally get from Paramount's library an Olive release on Blu-ray, the way that it was meant to be. And this is absolutely terrific. This basically puts together Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman again after Notorious, which Alfred Hitchcock made, and this time under the direction of Stanley Donen, who would eventually go on to make a very Hitchcockian film with Cary Grant and Audrey Hepburn in Charade. And this is not a Hitchcockian film, but it is a wonderful melodrama, very opulent, beautifully photographed, and a really great showcase for the two actors. And one of the really better color 35 millimeter photography efforts by Freddie Young, who's more famously known for all the stuff he did for David Lean, Dr. Zhivago and Ryan's Daughter and Lawrence of Arabia. So really fun movie. Indiscreet, just a terrific classic that is finally done right on Blu-ray. And then It's in the Bag, which is a Jack H. Skirball production. And if you don't know Jack H. Skirball, there's actually a place in Los Angeles named for him, which is the Skirball Center. And a lot of people don't know that. So Skirball was not just a producer, but he was also very much a philanthropist and a real, really civic-minded guy. This is, that being said, not a great movie. It just has a lot of kind of fun supporting appearances. Jack Benny, Don Amici, William Bendix, they're all the Rudy Valley. They're all the ones that sort of show up to give this film a little bit of star panache. But in 1945, these kinds of movies were pretty much just cranked out to give people something to escape from, either at the end of the war or at the beginning of peacetime. And so naturally they turned to something that's very, very tried and true, which is the 1928 Russian novel, The 12 Chairs. Now, you probably know The 12 Chairs mainly because of the Mel Brooks film. It was Mel Brooks' directing debut. He did his own adaptation of The 12 Chairs, which is kind of considered the definitive version, even though it's much more Mel Brooks. It's actually been done like a dozen times. The 12 Chairs has been done way, way, way too many times. And this one's okay. It's not as good as Mel Brooks's, but it's fine. Fred Allen and John Carradine are fun, and but it's still, really the only reason that this was made and the only reason you're watching it is for the cavalcade of, name stars who just kind of walk in and say, hi, howdy. Jack Benny basically being the one who steals the movie. Then we have some more recent films from Olive. The most noteworthy, I would say, is probably Trust. I love Hal Hartley. Hal Hartley is one of those really, really iconoclastic independent directors who just makes the coolest movie. Hal Hartley never uses anything other than a 50mm lens in his movies. That's it.
That's because
he never changes lenses.
Terrible director.
He wants everything to look exactly like the eyeball sees it. Our eyes roughly correspond to a 50mm lens, a 35mm, 50mm lens, and so he shoots all of his movies with a 50mm lens.
Maybe he should not do that anymore.
Anyway, I love his movies. They're so weird and quirky and odd and restrained. And this one is from 1990. It's one of his first films, and it is still fun, but it is very melancholic because Adrienne Shelly is the star, and Adrienne Shelly it was such a promising actress and filmmaker, and her death a few years ago was just devastating, and it makes it a little tough to watch. But it also features a young Edie Falco and Martin Donovan, who's constantly in Hal Hartley movies. And you know what? It's a really, really good film. It's good in ways now that I don't think I realized then. I can't laugh at it or enjoy the quirks of it the same way, but with Adrienne Shelly being gone, it somehow takes on an added dimension of poignancy, and I think it's really good. It's on Blu-ray. And then also Cujo is now on Blu-ray. Olive snatched that one up from Paramount. I think this is strictly one to make money. This is, of course, based on the Stephen King novel about the rabid dog. It's a terrible movie. Louis Teague, who made a few of these cheesy movies back then, including Alligator, directed it. It was a big step down for Dee Wallace Stone from E.T. She just basically kind of sold everything out and then went to B-movie hell with this movie. My recollection of Cujo is not so much the movie. This is on Blu-ray. It doesn't really need to be, but hey, look, it's going to make some money for Olive. Cujo. My recollection of this is when I actually went and I sat in the studio audience for the Jim J. Bullock thing.
Jim J. Too Close for Comfort?
Too Close for Comfort, thank you. And Jim, between takes, they were resetting a scene, and Jim J. Bullock is hamming it up for the... I know it's a Ted Knight series, but to me it's a Jim J. Bullock series. And Jim J. Bullock is hamming it up for the audience. And he came out, and you're not supposed to really talk to the audience. You're supposed to let the warm-up guy do that. There's a stand-up comic who usually warms the audience up for sitcoms. You're supposed to let him deal with the audience. Jim J. Bullock is just talking to the audience. Has anybody here seen Cujo? What a stupid movie. And then he ducks behind a little banister and sticks his head out and goes, Cujo? Funniest thing I've ever seen. I have no recollection of the movie at that point. All I could remember was Jim J. Bullock making fun of it. And then another one that Olive seems to have grabbed from the Paramount library is an early 90s film called Ticks. And I didn't even see this at the time. This was directed by Tony Randall, not the actor Tony Randall, but the director Tony Randall with one L, who was another one of those momentary horror guys. Did a number of horror movies like Hellbound, Hellraiser 2, and a few others. And it's terrible. It's really a stupid movie. But I guess it has a genre following. It's all about, mutant ticks. And the interesting thing is who's in it. Because Seth Green is like a pubescent boy in this movie. I didn't even realize he's been acting that long. Did you know that? Seth Green?
He's funny. He's on Family Guy.
He's been around for 20 years. It's incredible. Amy Dolenz is in this thing. Wow. Clint Howard and Rance Howard are in it as well. No Ron Howard. Yeah, look here on the back picture. Seth Green. Look at him. Look how young. You can't even recognize him.
Amy Dolenz was hot for a while.
Yeah, it's Mickey Dolenz' daughter.
I know.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yeah, she was in a few movies.
Anyway, Wade, we have to talk about this one movie or we'll die because it's awesome. Now, Wade and I are big fans of Alamo Drafthouse. We love Alamo Drafthouse. Woo!
Oh, yes, we do.
Love what they're about. And they also have a DVD distribution arm called, it's alamofilms.com, I guess. And they have graced us with probably the greatest film ever made.
Which would be what?
Miami Connection. Now, this is actually one of the great cult films that never got released. I don't know where Alamo Drafthouse found this thing, but they screened it at one of their theaters. It was a big hit, and now they have it out on Blu-ray. And this thing is absolutely hilarious. I mean, Wade, I know what you're thinking. You want to see a movie where motorcycle ninjas fight a martial arts rock band for control of Florida's drug trade. That's what you're thinking.
If you say so.
Oh, that's what you're thinking.
Okay.
It's awesome. This thing is the greatest movie ever made. This thing is so wonderfully bad. I mean, we're talking like the dialogue is terrible, the acting is terrible, there are musical numbers that are pretty terrible, the makeup's over the top. I mean, the action sequences, like people get punched in like the mouth for some reason. I don't know why that happens. This thing is so bad, but it is so funny. You have got to see Miami Connection. It is awesomely hilarious. And Drafthouse Films they have dug this thing out from the grave where it's been living since 1987, and they have released it with all sorts of cool special features. So good.
Well, Mark, you know what else Drafthouse Films has done for us?
What?
They've given us Trailer War. This is another really cool release this month from Drafthouse Films. Now, here's the thing. Trailers, for those of you that don't know this, if they're old trailers, I'm not sure if new trailers go under this, but old trailers are in the public domain. And that's one reason we were able to do Schlock, The Secret History of American Movies, as inexpensively as Ray and I did it, because a lot of the footage in there we didn't have to license. We just had to find actually a source trailer, and the trailers were in the public domain, so we were good. Well, that's kind of what Drafthouse has done with this. Obviously, Tim League, who runs the Alamo Drafthouse and Drafthouse Films, in the vaults of the original Alamo Drafthouse, I'm sure they had tons and tons of trailers from old exploitation films or whatever, and they have literally put all of those onto one disc. And some of these I've never seen before, and they are hysterical. They are really priceless. You'll just laugh for hours and hours and hours, and kind of like the educational films we mentioned earlier, this is great stuff for a party. It really is. Just throw this on during a party. People are sitting around. They'll just look at one, pay attention to it for 30 seconds, and laugh themselves delirious. Really, really good to have. This is a great Blu-ray. And the nice thing about a lot of this on Blu-ray is that the trailers are in terrible condition, and they haven't really cleaned them up any. So they come with all of the grindhouse grit and dirt and scratches.
That's how we want it.
And that's how you want it. You want it to be that way. It's really a lot of fun.
I don't understand. Alamo Drafthouse, they're opening theaters, like actual
they're going to
brick and mortar flesh and blood theaters.
It's a franchise arrangement. Some of them will be associated with Alamo Drafthouse proper, but a lot of them are just franchising the name. But it obviously, like any franchise, any food franchise, it goes with there are certain expectations that come with it. So if you want the brand, you have to kind of sign on for a bunch of other stuff.
But the weird thing is that one of these they're doing in Yonkers, which is like Yonkers.
They've been looking for about a year and a half now for a place to open up a big multiplex to go toe to toe with the Landmark here.
Oh, in L.A.
Yeah.
Oh, they totally should. I mean, there was rumors that the theater on Sunset and Crescent Heights was going to be an Alamo Drafthouse.
I know that's right. Yeah.
But I don't know why they would want to open up something in Yonkers. That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yonkers is like Yonkers.
I know.
There's subways don't go to Yonkers. You have to get on the Metro North to get to Yonkers.
Exactly. We're going to talk about a few documentaries to wrap up the show. Some of the really, really good stuff that came out this year. One of them, which was nominated for an Oscar, the other one that should have been nominated for an Oscar. I'm going to talk about the latter first. The Imposter.
Great movie.
Is an unbelievable documentary.
Great.
It not only should have been nominated for an Academy Award, it probably should win. This is such an unusual but amazing film because it's about the ultimate the ultimate con job. It's about a French guy who convinced this Texas family that he was their long-lost, kidnapped son. And he doesn't look anything like him. He doesn't sound anything like him. He's a French guy with an accent. It just makes no sense at all. The whole thing is preposterous. And they tell you this from the beginning of the film. You're in on it. You know that this is a total fraud. And the reason the movie works is because it plays against a different set of expectations. Not, oh my gosh, are they going to find out? You know they all find out. The question is, how could you all have been so stupid? Why did nobody figure this out?
The movie opens with an interview with the guy.
Yeah, he's interviewed all through the film.
So though there's no mystery as to whether or not he gets caught.
No.
You already know he gets caught. He's interviewed in the movie.
Yeah, so you're basically along for the ride because you are incredulous at how anyone could allow themselves to be so duped. And then it takes this unbelievably wicked turn at the end, which is just, you just sit there and you just go, damn, this was a ride. This is a great movie.
It is a great movie.
This is a great movie. It is absolutely
very
frustrating.
highly recommended.
I am stunned that this was not nominated for an Oscar, but it doesn't have a kind of a political machination to it. So
it's not about Israelis and Palestinians.
Yeah, or the civil rights movement or the Holocaust, and that already puts it at a disadvantage as far as the documentary committee is concerned, and that's unfortunate. It was a big hit at festivals, big hit at the box office, did extremely well, and don't miss it. Really good.
I could not agree less. No, it's a great film. Also a great film is another terrific documentary from last year. And
this one did get nominated for an Oscar.
This one did get nominated, called Searching for Sugar Man. Searching for Sugar Man is a story of this singer from the 70s named Rodriguez. He came out with one album, which is a great album, and then he disappeared. Now, rumor had it that he died, and over the years between his death and today, it turns out that the guy became a hero in South Africa during the end of the apartheid movement. Somehow, the South African fans really started to take to his music, and they started to equate his music with the end of apartheid, and he became a phenomenon there, even though he had died. And so this record producer there, this record collector, he tries to find Sugar Man, even though he had died, and it was really kind of about
outstanding.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great stuff.
Yeah.
By the way, this guy Rodriguez, he only came out with the one album, but his music is terrific. And actually, there's a soundtrack now you can get, Searching for Sugar Man motion picture soundtrack with all the music from this guy Rodriguez. Anyway, so it's all about Rodriguez's story, where he came from in Detroit, the one album he came out with that everybody thought this guy will be the next Bob Dylan. Turns out it didn't happen. He dies. He becomes a huge star in South Africa, where he becomes like a symbol of the entire anti-apartheid movement, and it just becomes this whole gigantic worldwide phenomenon thing. And it's just a great, great documentary. It's great. Searching for Sugar Man did get nominated for an Oscar. It deserves to get nominated for an Oscar. It's a great achievement, much like The Imposter. It's great. It's moving stuff.
And then last two here is Manufactured Landscapes, which is all about Edward Bertinsky, who is this fascinating installation artist who just turns junk and refuse and strange, peculiar locations and stuff and somehow creates art installations out of it. It's just such an unusual, fascinating look at his process and the way he thinks and why it's art. It's a terrific Blu-ray, really nicely shot from Zeitgeist. Also includes a discussion with Bertinsky and the film's director, Jennifer Beckwall, and an interview with the cinematographer, which is a big deal on this doc, because this is one of those docs where the cinematographer is as much part of the story as anybody else. I mean, he does an amazing job. Really, really nicely done. Highly, highly recommended on that case. And then very lastly is the forthcoming PBS documentary, The Abolitionists, part of the American Experience series. And This is really, really good. This is one of the better recent American experiences that I've seen, directed by Rob Rapley, which gets into the history of all of those who were key to the abolitionist movement preceding the Civil War. Harriet Beecher Stowe, Frederick Douglass, a lot of them we know. Some of them are less well known. William Lloyd Garrison, Angelina Grimke. And this obviously is meant to capitalize on the awareness of slavery now, both with Lincoln and with Django. A lot of debate going on too, especially with those Django slave dolls, that which they had to pull from the market. So people are talking about slavery again, and it's actually a good time for this to be made.
Slavery's hot again.
It's like it is. So it's a good time to come out with this. It's also right at the very, very beginning of Black History Month. So really super, super timing for this, and really, really well done, and an excellent effort by American Experience that doesn't feel like they're just trying to sort of pawn off a documentary to ride the coattails of other movies. This feels like, you know what, the time was right, let's go and revisit this story, and they do a really, really good job of it. Very, very professional. And with that, Mark, we are done.
We're done?
We're done. So send us your Vox boxes, your listener mail, and your suggestions for new show intros to gods@digigods.com. See you next week.